black bag. To be with someone in this business, you each know what you know and you never discuss certain things. I would do anything for you.
Would you?
Yes. You got a breach. One of our people stole something. You cannot imagine the damage. Find the leak. Give me 2 weeks. Thousands of innocent people will die. Okay? 1 week. Who's the suspect? Your wife.
Well, you can lie about everything. How do you tell the truth about anything?
You think this is normal? The way you're doing this? Maybe this is all your greatest danger.
It's a very dangerous line of work.
I see.
Would you kill for me, George?
Hey, welcome back to Dave's Movie Diary. It's Friday. What better time to talk about films leading into the weekend? Relax a bit. What did I watch last night? I watched a film called Black Bag. Came out last year, and it's directed by one of my favourite guys, Steven Soderbergh. Got a long history with his films, and he's made quite a few. What's this one about? It's I'd call it a stylish spy thriller set in primarily in London. It's centered around intelligence operatives, and it's got heaps of secrets and betrayal. I don't want to talk about the story too much because the plot is everything in this film. Well, not everything, but just about. Heaps of twists and turns. The characters are constantly testing each other's loyalty. Loads of deception, manipulation, all the good stuff. It's really set up as a modern espionage story, but it's structured almost like a classic whodunit, if that makes sense. It reminded me of heaps of films I saw from the 70s and 80s that really had this twist upon twist idea. I guess the Knives Out movies are other recent examples of that. That also have a light-hearted touch that this one has. So look, best off going into this one knowing as little as possible, but just knowing that it's really worth a watch. Hadn't seen it before, obviously. It just came out last year, and I'm really impressed with it. I really enjoyed it, actually. It was refreshing, and it was refreshing to watch an adult thriller that moves really quickly, that it trusts the audience to keep up. It doesn't insult your intelligence by overly explaining things. And it wraps up in around 90 minutes, just over. Perfect. No fat on the bone whatsoever. The dialogue, razor sharp. Lots of jokes. Everyone in the film is kind of awful to an extent. It's just that some are worse than others. But then again, when I thought about this is the intelligence community. Maybe that's what we need. This is where awful people can find their place in society, and they're really good at that. They're protecting civilization. They're protecting our daily lives. So not really a domain for nice people. Nobody in this film feels morally pure, and everybody's manipulating everyone else. So they can't really complain too much. I mentioned him earlier. Steven Soderbergh, a guy that lives and breathes films, and watching this one, it reminded me again how deceptively good he is at pure entertainment. I think people can often talk about Soderbergh and focus on the experimentation that he uses in films, the different kind of films that he makes. He's made quite a few over a reasonably long career now, probably getting up to around 40 years. Super productive. He's made, 35 films, and he's technically gifted. But I think he's also really efficient as a storyteller. He doesn't waste any time. There's always relevant things happening in his films. They never drag. And this one feels controlled down to the second. The pacing, the editing, some great camera placements. the rhythm, the dialogue, and how it's delivered by the actors. Everything is economical. Nothing's wasted. No unnecessary tangents. No bloating. And honestly, I think when I think about films that have probably been since the superhero explosion in Hollywood around the turn of the century, I think that's when the running times really started to blow out. So films that come in around that 90-minute mark, that's nearly like a radical idea these days, and I love seeing it. Other things I liked about this one, it's got a real British atmosphere. It's set primarily in London, but there's some critical scenes in the countryside, where a lot of key scenes play out. Now, the London locations really work. You got the offices, the apartments, the restaurants, as you'd expect. They're all perfect for the shadowy, clandestine meetings and things that are acquired in the intelligence space. And those aspects really reminded me about the 70s and 80s British spy thrillers. The British have always been really adept at both the literature and cinematic telling of spy stories. You go back to Agatha Christie. She really kicked it off, and a lot of the film adaptations of her works kind of reminded me about the way this plays out. That it's got a slight light-hearted air to it. The conversation and the back and forth between the characters is really a major part of the film. It's less about explosions and action scenes and really more about reading the behavior between the characters, analyzing the lies that are told, thinking about who's duping who, studying the power dynamics, and I found that really interesting and very refreshing. Michael Fassbender, perfectly cast in this. Been a big fan of Fassbender ever since I think I first saw him in one of the Alien films. I've seen most of his work since then. I think he's a very brave actor. He's been in some really confrontational films, and he puts everything into it. This one, though, it's very restrained, and his character is extremely precise, emotionally controlled, analytical to the nth degree. So I said that he was perfectly cast. I think the first time I saw him in that Alien film, he was playing a cyborg-like character that seemed to be human but wasn't. And throughout this film, some of the other characters actually are critical of him for his lack of emotion. So he's probably the ideal guy to play this role. I think the downside to that, though, is that obviously there's no allowance for him to show his emotional range, which he does have. But the icy precision that comes out in some of his performances really, really suits the screen presence that's needed here. Actually, you don't have to look too far back to the David Fincher film, The Killer. Similar role to that and similar lack of emotion. So I think he's one of those actors who can make stillness feel threatening. He's got a really steady gaze and can be intimidating, actually. You can nearly see him thinking, if that makes sense. Cate Blanchett. I haven't seen her in a film for a while, probably since Tar came out. The first thing I thought of when I saw her in this is just how unique she is visually. She could nearly be someone from another planet in the best possible way. She's so striking, so unique. Of course, she always brings an intelligence, but a cinematic, theatrical vibe as well, like she's on stage. She is hard to penetrate. Her presence, her persona, I think. But that makes her compelling. It's nearly like, I always think of her like an old Hollywood kind of feel to her. This role really allows her to have fun, play it slightly larger and in a more arch fashion than I've seen her in other films. She's usually in more serious films, or films that are taking themselves more seriously. But I think when she gets a chance to sit back and chew the scenery and have a bit of fun, she's really great at it. I mean, she's one of our greatest actors since the 90s, when she really made a splash with Elizabeth and Oscar and Lucinda and other films. She's always been at the top of the game ever since then, but I don't know, I just haven't seen her for a while, so she really leapt out of the screen at me. There's a fantastic scene in this film where her character does some mandatory psych sessions, and the repartee with the psychiatrist is brilliant. She nearly, for me, makes dialogue scenes feel dangerous just through her timing and facial expression, much the same way that Fassbender's doing. They're both very intimidating and a power couple in this film. The other actor that I wanted to highlight in this one is a young actor called Marissa Abela. She really surprised me. I had seen her in Barbie, but I'd forgotten that she was in that. She really stood out for me in this one. Her character and the way she plays it, she's smart, she's funny, she's sexy, confident, emotionally sharp, and there's some great scenes with both Fassbender and Blanchett, and she holds her own. And they're challenging scenes, and I think with a weaker actor, they really could have derailed the film. The only criticism I've got is that I would have liked to see more scenes with her in them, and I think she's going to go on to do some great things. She's got that real screen energy that captivates an audience. Why did the film work for me? If I could sum it up in a sentence, I think it's because this film understands that less is more. It really trusts the audience with the dialogue, the atmosphere, the performances, and there is tension. Even though there's a playful attitude to this film, towards the end, there are some real scenes where I was on the edge of my seat, literally. This film does not rely on endless exposition or oversized action scenes or that sort of franchise spectacle energy. It's really old-fashioned, and old-fashioned in a good way, and reminiscent of some of those thrillers from times gone past that relied on the strength of the performances and the back and forth and the deceptiveness. Watching this one made me realize maybe that I've unfairly dismissed some modern adult thrillers recently, so I'm going to go and check out some similar ones that I know I've missed. I did get a really good reminder of how satisfying a smart, contained movie that's aimed at adults can actually be. It was a revelation. So look, my final thoughts on this one. Black Bag isn't going to reinvent the spy genre, but it comes in at 90 minutes. It gives you some tension. It's intelligent, and it treats you as an intelligent human being. It's got loads of style and atmosphere, great performances. Overall, it reminded me how great Soderbergh can be when he's locked into pure storytelling mode. And I realised that I haven't seen enough of his films probably in the last 10 to 15 years. So that's another thing that I want to go back and do more of. Really glad I sat down to watch this one. It surprised me. I honestly picked it for two reasons. Because it's Soderbergh and because it was around 90 minutes. It was later in the night. I thought, will I, won't I? I'm glad I did. Check it out. It's available on a few different streaming services, I think. And I think you'll really enjoy it. Thanks for joining me. Catch you next time.